Hello everybody, this is Sid from Partridge exterior cleaning. I'm doing something slightly different today. This is not going to be one of my normal videos. I'm just basically going to be talking to the camera here. I had this video idea a little while back. I was going to save it for sort of a future video at some point, but I thought I'll just do it now because I've got nothing else to do at the moment. Yeah, so this is something that's helped me grow my business a lot, and I can guarantee this is going to work for most of you as well. I've had to start from scratch with my exterior cleaning business, which is sort of hand in hand with my window cleaning business as well. So I've had to start again about 3 times now due to moving around the country quite a bit. So these are going to be some tips and tricks basically on canvassing customers. Now this will work for sort of any business really. I'm aiming this more towards window cleaning just because that's sort of the main thing I do it for. But this has also worked for me with gutter cleaning. Haven't tried it with roof cleaning yet. I usually just advertise with Google and Facebook with that, but I will start sort of trying that with roof cleaning in the future. Yeah, I'll take you through some tips now, and yeah, I've got plenty more as well. So if these help anyone, if you want another sort of follow-up video, there's about 50 things that I can list off. So just a little backstory on me before I start this. I actually did door-to-door sales for a living. For about 8 months. I ran sort of a pretty small team of about 3 other people doing it. I hated it, one of the worst jobs I've ever had, but it taught me a lot of valuable sort of lessons and skills and sort of how to conduct yourself in front of customers and how to sort of approach a door really. So I'm not going to go over sort of the obvious self-explanatory things like image and stuff, you know, just dress smart, not too smart. I don't sort of believe in wearing a suit and things like that, knocking on a door. Just wear like either your work gear with your logo on it, or just a smart shirt and some trousers, whatever you're comfortable in really. And also say I don't like walking around with a clipboard or anything like that because people just think, oh, it's a salesman, and either won't answer the door, or be kind of rude, I found. One thing that's always helped is, especially for window cleaning, if you have your bucket on a belt on as well. So a lot of people sort of already see you walking around, and I've actually picked up quite a few customers just by walking around knocking doors, and I haven't even knocked on that person's door. They've been walking their dog and spotted me in the street and then said, oh, are you a window cleaner? And then yeah, so there's a customer for you. So tip number 1, this is going to seem quite silly and small, but this is one of the most important things that I do. So you walk up to the house, you knock on the door, you're standing there. Now once you've seen the customer approaching the door and start to open it, take a step back. So take one big step back from the door. You know, have your arms sort of by your side or out. Don't be all crossed up or your arms behind your back. But that one step back is important. This is sort of showing people that you're not threatening. Now, most people have a tendency when they're knocking on a door, especially when it's an elderly woman or someone opens the door only slightly, they sort of lean in as if you're trying to sort of see around the door so you can sort of engage in that conversation with them. But it's the worst thing to do. It's threatening for people, even though you're not trying to be threatening. People see it as threatening and they're a bit wary. They're like, is this guy going to try and force his way into my house? Because let's face it, nobody likes people knocking on their door. So if you take that step back, it puts them a little bit more at ease that you're not going to try and run through the door because there's some dodgy people out there at the moment. And they're more likely to then start hearing you out instead of just saying no thank you and closing the door straight away. So yeah, first tip, take a big step back. So tip number 2, this is your pitch. So this is one of the more obvious ones really. You want your pitch to be, it's the single most important part, you know, of knocking on the door, to be honest. A lot of people will have a tendency then to start motor mouthing because they're nervous. They've, you know, not really knocked on many doors before. So they'll be like, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm John Smith from John Smith & Sons. I'm talking about John Smith today, doing John Smith things. It's, people just get switched off immediately. You need to keep it short, sharp, and talk slowly. The slower you speak, the more people will start listening and, you know, they won't just sort of then try and close the door on you. So it'd be something like, hi, I'm Sid from Partridge exterior cleaning. Just wondered if you'd be interested in having your windows cleaned. Simple as that. That's all I ever do. I don't really ever say much more than that. Just introduce yourself and tell them what you're doing. And then once then they've sort of either said no, or, you know, once they've said no, you just leave. You don't try and go, oh, sure, do you want a card? No, don't bother, just leave. If they're sort of hanging on it for a second and thinking about it, or they've said yes, that's when you can then talk about, you know, other things. You can sort of say how you clean a window with your traditional wall-fed pole, or if it's another business, or I do it safely, I don't use any chemical, blah, 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 blah. That's when you can start talking then, and sort of introducing yourself properly and letting the customer know that you can be trusted. Right then, so tip number 3, this is after you've canvassed the customer successfully and you are in, you've got the job basically, or you're quoting up the property and thinking about giving them a price. First, biggest mistake, I'm in an RN. I used to be terrible for it, I still do it in my videos now, but I don't do it with customers anymore because I found myself, when I was speaking, I could see myself losing the customer the more I spoke. Because I was going, you know, when you'll sort of get around to a property and there'll be a massive conservatory or 50 windows around the back that you weren't expecting, or if it's a guttering job, it's, you know, difficult, there's all sorts of stuff in the way, and you're sort of going, because you're trying to think in your head, how am I going to price this one? This is not something I'm used to pricing up. Yeah, a little tip, when you are thinking like that and you walk around and you've got no idea, talk about something else and still be thinking about it in your head. So say, oh, this is a lovely patio, change the subject, talk about things that are nothing even to do with the job, and it looks like you're just being friendly and sort of trying to get to know the potential customer as well. But the whole time in your head you're thinking, right, there's 15 windows there and I'm going to price it at X amount per window. Yeah, or if you don't want to do it that way, if you can't sort of multitask in your head, say, right then, I'm just going to have a quick count up. Do you mind if I go and have a look around the front again? So then they'll sort of then usually take a sort of step back and go back inside the house and say, yeah, that's fine, carry on. And I'll say, you know, I'll give you a knock when with the price when I'm finished. So then you've got free time, then you don't feel under pressure from the customer there, and you're not umming and ahhing, you're not looking like you don't know what you're talking about. You know, you're just taking it in and trying to give yourself a sort of a head start on the quote really, so you know what to say to the customer. And then once you're, you know, if you're still in that situation where you're mumbling and you're not really sure what to do, the longer you hang around, the more likely they're going to say, oh, can I just have a card then? Just give me a card and I'll be in touch, or I'll speak to my husband, or I'll speak to my wife, which they, you know, they never do. It's probably 1 out of 50 people actually do get in touch, which actually brings me to my next point. Don't have anything in your hands really. Don't have leaflets or cards in your hand when you're knocking doors, because a lot of people will then take that card just as a way to get you off. You think they're interested, they're not interested. They literally just want you to leave. They're not interested in what you're saying. They're not even hearing you out. They're just staring at that card in your hand or that leaflet and saying, yeah, I'll just have a card, mate, and I'll let you know, which they never will. Again, 1 in 50 people will probably actually let you know. So don't have anything in your hands. Just clean hands, no gloves, no cards, no leaflets, no notepads, nothing. Yeah, and you'll be saving yourself a card. I know they're only cheap anyway. You know, but you'll be saving it for someone that it actually is interested. The only times you should be giving cards out is if someone specifically asks for one, or if the customer isn't in. So I only leaflet houses with customers that aren't in. If I'm there talking to someone at the door and they're sort of, you know, I can tell they're not interested. You know, the more you do it, you'll understand when people just aren't interested. I don't even bother offering a leaflet because there's no point. So I just save a leaflet in for people that aren't in, and then, yeah, people that are genuinely interested. And then every customer as well that has said yes, or they'll speak to their husband, I will then also give a card to. Right then, and finally, number 5, as I said, I could go on all day about stuff like this. There's a million things, but I'm just going to say how this video does. If anyone's actually going to watch it, if anyone's actually bothered by it, you know, there's a million more techniques that I've got. But number 5 is you need to be recording what you were doing. You need to be recording the road that you're on. So basically, say you're on a street with 200 houses and you think, right, I'm going to smash this out today. 3 hours later, you've knocked all of them 200 houses. Now say you've gained 7, 8, 9, 10 new customers. You're thinking, great, that's a good day. But you've probably only spoken to 50 people. So there's still 150 people left on that street that you haven't spoken to, haven't even seen. They have no idea that you're there. They've probably got a leaflet through the door that they've put in the bin when they got back. So this is one of the main things that's going to help you grow from doing 3 houses on one street of 200 houses to doing 20 houses on those streets. So basically you'll be on that street for most of the day, if not all day. Either way, it's going to take a while to build up that amount of houses. But this is one thing that will help doing it. So every time that you knock on a door, write down that number on a piece of paper. So you've got 1 all the way up to 200. Every time you speak to a customer, tick it off. Every time you don't speak to a customer, leave it on a list. So then a week later or a few days later, if you want to go back and canvass that same street again, you've cut your time in half again, because you're only going to be speaking to, you know, you're only going to be knocking half the amount of doors. And it's more chance of you seeing, you're never going to see every single customer, but there's more chance of you seeing as many customers on that street as possible, because most people will go down a street, say brick road, they'll do a run down that street, knock all them houses, and then never knock it again. Or they might go back in like 3 years' time and say, oh, I haven't been down there in a while. But within those 3 years, you could have had so many more customers. You could have nearly filled up that whole street within a year if you canvassed it repeatedly and spoke to every single customer on that street. And remember, most of the houses that you turn up to and you think, man, I've got this one, these windows are filthy, and there's no answer because they're never in, so they don't have a window cleaner because they're always at work all the time. So if you're heading back on a Sunday to sort of say you've only got 50 people left to speak to on this list that you've been growing, and now that 6 customers that you would have had is already at 15, 20 customers on that street. So then you still, each time you're there, just try and get those last few houses in that you haven't spoken to yet. And I promise you would pick up way more customers than you normally would. Just sort of passing the street once. So it's saying that these things are obvious, maybe you guys are already doing it. But I know me, when I first started, I didn't even bother doing that because I wouldn't record it. So I'd never have the houses written down. So I'd think, oh, I don't want to go back and knock on the same customers again and piss people off basically, and then end up getting a bad name for myself and look like I'm desperate. So yeah, so that was the final one. That final one's a good one. I really recommend that to anyone that's going to be trying to canvas to build a business. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. As I say, if there's anything else you want to know, there is genuinely a million more tips that I can give on canvassing, because there's not many things I'm good at. I'm good at cleaning things, and I'm good at speaking to people and getting customers. So yeah, tried and tested. I've built up a business 3 times over now, and I'm only 25. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Yeah, any questions or anything, just leave it in the comments. Cheers.